The following is a pre-recorded show. Welcome to Winning in Retirement with your host, Brian Akers, certified financial planner professional and founder of Akers Financial Group. Now, helping you win in your retirement, here's Brian Akers.
Welcome to Winning in Retirement. I'm Brian Akers, president and founder of Akers Financial Group, and we welcome you to our radio podcast show, Winning in Retirement. Yes, it's early in the morning. Sometimes your tongue and the mouth, the rest of this doesn't work together, but that's why I invite my cousin and vice president of Akers Financial Group, Jeff Akers. Welcome to the show.
Good morning, Brian.
I appreciate you being here. Hopefully you can speak correctly.
I'll do my best, but it can be a challenge sometimes.
Now, being certified financial planner practitioners as we are,
Yes.
You really do need to speak properly because it really helps other people to understand what we're trying to say.
That is very true. We want them to understand the concepts and see how that applies to them.
You know that we just passed the anniversary of another year completed with you working with me. Is that crazy?
Yes.
So
But it's been so many years, I can't remember that far back. So,
well, 24, so that we haven't hit our, whatever the 25th anniversry be next
isn't
year.
that golden? Don't I get something out of gold next
I
year?
don't think so. I think gold's like way down the road.
Oh, man.
It might be wood or
Wood.
plywood, the plywood anniversary. I'm sorry, you guys are listening out there to our talk show, and you're saying, well, what are they going to cover today? Or is Brian and Jeff going to just joke the whole time, and I'll change channels? Let's not change channels. Let's listen to Winning in Retirement, to our talk today. This is what we're going to do. Jeff, we need to talk about inheritance and how to make sure people's families do it correctly. Inheritance for the giver is a lifelong set of thoughts. To the receiver, it seems to come suddenly and changes their financial situation suddenly. Winning in retirement does indeed lead to having some money left over as your legacy. In today's show, we're going to have this talk, the inheritance talk.
The
How about
inheritance talk. Okay.
That's what we're going to have, Jeff, inheritance talk. We're going to talk about what we talk about when we see clients and they start bringing up the idea about their family or who they want this money to ultimately go to. And this all is part of good, sound, full, holistic financial planning.
Absolutely. And it comes up, frankly, when we're setting up accounts and naming beneficiaries and we start talking about the family and who do you want to have what and who gets how much. And then we also talk about, legal documents and that's different than the beneficiaries that we name.
Absolutely.
So, what do you want to have happen there? And do you want people to get it all at once? There's a lot of things that we have to go through with leaving money behind to other people, to our heirs.
The real reality is that in America, one of the biggest things that's going on in the next 20 years is this transfer of wealth from one generation to the next. That transfer of wealth is inheritance. It's legacy. It's estate planning. There's lots of terms for it. We're going to just call it inheritance. We're going to talk about the concepts of inheritance and how at Akers Financial, how we do the basics of it, and then how we build on that. And yes, it can get extremely complicated. That's not our goal today. The goal is to keep it as simple as possible.
Right. Well, keep it simple. You're going to have questions, and that means you give us a call.
Yeah, in that meeting, we get complicated based on your exact situation that we call your unique financial fingerprint. Financial fingerprint is who you are, where you are currently. As part of planning, we need to know a lot of things. Part of that is where is everything at now? Mm-hmm. How is it titled? Who are the primary beneficiaries, contingent beneficiaries? Do you even know?
Right.
If you don't know, you need to call everywhere your money is and get a copy, have them mail you a copy of it, who they have on their record.
Right.
I've found that when banks especially change names, they say their data changes over, but not the beneficiary part.
You call the bank and ask for a form, and they say, what form?
Well, what do you have in your record? Oh, we just have a joint account. Well, I did payable on death. Oh, that was 3 banks ago.
Right.
Or whatever the teller tells you at that moment. But the idea is that the beneficiaries are extremely important. So what we want to do is talk about basically when you pass away and you're giving money to people, you need to make sure wherever you want your money to go is how you have it designed in your planning. And so we started Akers Financial Group with something called estate flow.
Okay.
Estate flow is where your money is now, based on titling and beneficiary, based on trust or not trust, based on your legal documents, just where does it go, who gets it. We built a little spreadsheet out saying little Jimmy gets this much money.
Right. So in your estate flow, you pass away, the money gets divided up, however it's going to get divided up, and we can show you. Here's the number for little Jimmy, as an example. And you might look at that number and say, oh, I really want to give him more. Okay, we need to adjust the
that's
flow.
too much money for Jimmy. I need Jill to have some.
Yeah, or I don't like Jimmy anymore. I don't want to leave him anything.
And that happens.
All kinds of things happen.
All this happens in their planning. So imagine this. We meet you as a financial planning client, and we're talking. Now, you have today's goals, today's emotions, today's bloodline and planning. And usually when you're doing planning, you look at everybody who's basically alive in your family. And what I mean by that is, let's say you have children that might get married, and then you have grandchildren. They might not even be around yet. Now, when you do the first plan, oh, I love my kids, give them everything. The second that grandchild's born, cut those kids out. How can I skip that?
Right. I want it to go straight to my grandkids, make sure they're taken care of. That's it, because I don't trust my kids to take care of them anymore. I want to take care of them.
Yes.
That's an exaggeration. But
well, you're saying what's thought, not said.
What they're thinking.
Yeah. Well, the reality is that it seems like when you can give the kid back, like a grandchild, you love them more. When you're a parent and you just keep them all the time, that's when it gets a little tough.
As a grandparent, you get to sugar them up, send them home, and they're wonderful.
Yeah. I'm sorry.
I got them laughing.
There's so many weird stories. Like one of the stories was, we got to get on a trip. Why is that? Well, they got us babysitting 5 days a week now. It's like, if we build our schedule out, if they find out, meaning their kids find out they're going to be home, the phones aren't ringing. Right.
They're suddenly not home. They're at the kid's house babysitting.
Well, because they go from one job to the next. Well, so the idea here in the first quarter, what we're trying to cover is this. You want to give money away after you pass. Now, estate flow is knowing what your plan does now, and is that what you really want? Mm-hmm. Then over the years of planning together, is it still what you want?
Things can change over time.
People change.
Yep.
There can be a spouse come in, a spouse go out. There can be kids entering in. There have been kids.
Circumstances change. I've had folks where their kids passed away. Right. And so, they're not going to be a beneficiary now. Did they have kids? Who's that going to go to?
Absolutely. They one had their sister before they had kids. And now that kid they had is 32 years old.
Oh, my.
So, we did this concept of copy your beneficiaries. Oh, look, my retirement goes to my sister still. Is that what you want? No. Right. Or my favorite is you bring up the 401k of a newly married couple.
Oh.
Let's call it a second marriage couple. And you bring it up, and I always click the beneficiary on the website. And I sometimes I'll joke and I say, did you change this? And the guy will say, I think I did. I said, I sure hope you did, because you might get in trouble after I click this button. Some people have gotten in trouble. It's a button on your website, your 401k. If you look under your profile, it usually says manage beneficiaries. You click that and you write it down.
And if they'll let you manage it right there, take care of it. Let's change it now.
All right, Jeff. So we're not lawyers. We're estate planners, financial planners. But generally, let's say you go on the 401k and the 401k beneficiary is your sister and not your wife. Doesn't it just go to the wife?
No. They use the beneficiary. There was a case
so the beneficiary overrides all the legal documents, all the fancy things you can do, unless there might be another way around that, of course. There usually is always a way around everything.
Like you said before, we're not lawyers. But,
but the general idea is this. If your beneficiary says it, that's what's going to happen.
Yep.
If you don't want that to happen, we have to change things.
Change the beneficiary.
As financial advisors, we just happen to have operations team that helps us get the paperwork that change things.
Right. And the beneficiary of all these things we're talking about is the easiest. Just name a beneficiary and make sure it's who you want.
Absolutely. Now, what really bothers me is rules change. There's this thing called the Secure Act of 2020 that created lots of changes in inheritance. One of the biggest things it did was about having primary beneficiary split. And that's a complicated issue we'll talk later in the show about. But the idea is that if you want to give the charity out of an IRA, you need to have an IRA separate that you want to give the charity. Don't have a mixed beneficiary where you give 20% to charity or 10% to charity and then the rest to your family. You want to break this out.
Right. You need an account where the beneficiary is charity. You could have more than one charity on that account, but don't throw in a person.
Now, when you're the giver and you want to do things, you got to decide when you want them to get the money. How do you want to receive the money? you want them to have choices, or do you want to control it after you pass away?
Yeah, the control freaks among us.
The name Jeff?
What? Me? Okay. Yeah.
I have same thing, Jeff. I'm sorry. I only can joke because I know it for sure. Now, the other thing is when you're planning on giving money to people, can they or should they receive it? There's ideas called a special needs trust where you might have a relative on special needs, maybe on benefit with Social Security and Medicaid and all that. Right. And if you give them inheritance, you're going to ruin the flow of money they have now.
Right.
The programs they're in, the place they live.
Right. That public assistance could go away because of something you did.
Right. And just by naming someone without adding a special trust, a special needs trust, where if you really want to provide for that person, having an proper estate plan done, adding a special needs trust can be the absolute right thing for your family.
Absolutely. And we've seen that happen time and again.
So the idea of the inheritance talk all begins with, well, how do you want this to go? What is your goal? What is your dream? And guess what? It does not have to be in concrete or stone. It can change over time. And that's the design by doing a plan. If you're a giver, you have to plan to give. Now, that takes a lifetime to grow it, and then you want to give it. And then if you're the receiver, sometimes this feels all of a sudden it comes and drops in your lap there. You got to be careful with that.
Right. Take a minute, think it through, come see us so we can help you manage your choices.
So the idea is this. We've been talking about inheritance, inheriting money. That means you might be the one giving it or receiving it. What we love to do at Akers Financial Group is planning for the unexpected. This may not be your favorite thing to do or to even talk about. We know that, but this is what we do and how we help you have things set up. I love to say you plan as if you might die tomorrow, and once that plan's done, you don't have to worry about it anymore. Go live and invest like you're going to live forever. That kind of planning is developed between the financial advisor and you. So we've planned for it. We'll be okay is because we've planned for it. Perhaps you've been sold something, regardless of whether you need it or not at Akers Financial Group. With us, we want to plan for it because it follows your financial fingerprint. It's a path along with your financial fingerprint that determines where your money goes. It's not about us, it's about you. So give us a call at 833-WIN-RETIRE and schedule a free in-person meeting with one of our team of advisors. Call us at 833-WIN-RETIRE. Or you can call us at 833-946-7384 or visit our website at akersfinancialgroup.com. Do you talk to your kids and talk to your parents about inheritance? We'll explain with our ideas in a moment.
You're listening to a pre-recorded show. Welcome back to Winning in Retirement. Call 833-WIN-RETIRE now to schedule a visit with Brian and his team and begin winning in retirement. Once again, here's Brian Akers.
Welcome back to Winning in Retirement. I'm Brian Akers. Here with me today is Jeff Akers. We're both certified financial planner practitioners from Akers Financial Group, and we welcome you to the second quarter of Winning in Retirement, our radio podcast. If you ever want to hear more, you can go to our website at akersfinancialgroup.com. How do you spell Akers, Jeff?
Akers.
I'm glad you learned how to spell that. What were you, about 5, 6 years old when you learned that?
Yeah. I might have been 4. I don't know. My first name was the tricky one, but my last name, I had that one down.
I can't spell your first name right. Jeffrey or Jeffrey, I can't remember.
I'm Uri.
Yeah, Jeff Uri. All right, so we're talking inheritance talk. The reason we're talking inheritance talk is that people want to talk about it, especially those that are planning to give money, especially when they hit certain ages during their retirement years and they feel like, oh, I have enough. Mm-hmm. I've been winning. What should I do now? What are my options? And then there's the phone calls we get from people who are getting an inheritance, and they say, what do I do now? I'm getting this inheritance. Mm-hmm. And then my favorite call is to call beneficiaries and say that we need to set up a time for you to come in, talk with us about your money that our client who's your mother left you. We want to go over her plans for the money for you.
Right.
And those are good conversations, relatively good.
Well, the last one, somebody's just passed away. That part's a challenge. But when they realize how someone has planned for them, that's the good part.
Absolutely right. So these people who pass away suddenly are more difficult.
Right.
Now, you have a master's degree. That means you went to extra schooling.
Yes, extra schooling.
And that was in counseling?
Yes, marriage and family counseling.
Marriage and family counseling. And they covered grief and things like that?
Well, yeah, we talked a little bit about grief and stages of grief, all that stuff.
Right. And so in any of those talks, did it come down to money, like how people handle money when it comes to grief? Because some people handle it what I consider well. Some don't want the money at all because they feel sort of guilty a little bit about it. There's lots of emotions tied to it.
I had someone one time who received an inheritance, and he took the money and just put it in a safe. He was like, that's blood money.
Yep.
And he wouldn't touch it.
I've had a couple like that in my 37-year career, like considered it blood money, money that I'd rather they be alive. Yes, we do. We rather they be alive. The sad part is people don't live forever.
Right.
They do pass away. When they pass away, they want to give this money to people. Mm-hmm. And so I believe that inheritance is a legacy. It's a wonderful thing that they thought of you to give you this money.
Right.
And you got to do well with it.
Right.
Don't just blow it. Don't just have the fun time you put off. Make this money matter for your financial life.
Right. It was a gift to you.
Absolutely.
They didn't have to leave you.
Right. And so this topic in the second quarter is very, very important. And that is this. Do you talk to your kids or do you talk to your parents about inheritance? Now, the idea of how you handle the money after they pass away is sort of the receiver having to deal with what they want to do with the money. But imagine that you're planning ahead.
Right.
Now, you might be the one with the money planning.
Right. So you're the one that would talk to your kids.
Yeah, like should you talk to kids, right? Mm-hmm. And we call those family meetings. We bring them in.
Yep.
Typically, a lot of those clients are in their 80s at that time. Mm-hmm. We have the kids there. We talk about responsibilities of executor and trustee and what the design is of what we've put together.
Right.
Designs for any grandkids until a certain age, a special needs trust. We talk about who's in charge, how it's currently invested. And I like to cover the client's goal with the money, what they want it to do for you.
Right.
Which doesn't mean go buy that one car you've been waiting for.
Right.
It means usually a lot more. They want to help your long-term life.
Right. They're trying to help you out, help your family as well. So if you've got kids, that's what, we talked earlier, that's what they're really trying to help is their grandkids, your kids.
Well, what they're hoping is that if they're in their 80s, you're in your late 50s, 60s, so they're hoping you're okay.
Right.
And then you're not waiting for that inheritance to retire.
Right.
And then there's more about the family unit or charity can be more involved.
Right. And the whole talking about this with your kids, I know there are going to be folks out there that say, well, I've got this one kid, I'd better not talk to him about this. And that's going to happen in families. But there needs to be someone, the person that you name as your personal representative, your executor, you need to talk to that person. They need to know what you want.
Right. So imagine that we have these cases where a husband will pass away and then there's the wife. The wife's left with the finances. And then all of a sudden some kids started getting involved. And then the question becomes, is it okay for the kids to talk to the parents about inheritance, how it's going to work, what their goals are before that first one passes away? Mm-hmm. And how would kids do that? What's your general opinion on things like that?
Well, I would take the approach in talking to my dad about, Dad, what do you want to have happen?
Okay.
And I know for my dad, it's not a big deal, but I know for some folks, they just don't want to talk about the fact that they're going to die one day. So it can be a difficult conversation. And I think just asking what you want to have happen is the easiest way to edge into it.
Well, that's a planning question. That's easier for us to ask than a kid to ask.
Now, that's true.
Because a planner, we can sit there and play dumb and say, all right, where's the money going? When do you want him to get it? Do you really want little Jimmy to get that?
We're going to have to stop talking bad about Jimmy.
You told me stories about Jimmy the last 20 years. Do we really want the money going there? Sorry, I shouldn't say that.
We apologize to all the Jimmies out there.
Yes, I'm sorry. I didn't know what name to pick. It just sort of came with me. The hardest part when it comes to being a planner is wanting the client to make a decision. Mm-hmm. And you don't want to come across that you even are trying to make a decision in any direction. You're just trying to give them options.
Right.
And then the client says to you, oh, what do you think I should do? What do you say to that, Joe?
Well, you need to have a plan. You need to know what you want to have happen.
Right. So I always talk about, it's just like going on a trip. If you want to drive to a certain location, knowing your destination, we can then build the map to get there. Mm-hmm. Tell me the destination of your money. I like the estate flow because it shows us where the money is, how much is going where. It actually shows taxation and who gets what net and when. If we want to change any of it, I think logistically we can.
Right.
I just think that it's hard when we haven't done the planning, because if someone passed away suddenly, all of a sudden you sort of have to create a plan out of it. Right. It's a lot harder to figure out.
Yes, it is. And oh my goodness, I'm sorry, my brain's going a million different directions, but we've come across folks who come in and say, someone just passed away, they left me this money, and this is how it is, what it is that's coming to me. And we see just the different things that the person who passed away with a little bit of planning could have made things so much simpler for the person receiving the money.
The shows today is not about mistakes that we've seen on inheritance. We're going to do one. Right. We're going to do one about of top mistakes we've seen when people that come in and meet us after the fact. Right. So if you hear about getting an inheritance, you call us before you do anything.
Right.
If you want to give inheritance, call us before you do anything so we can think it through. So imagine this. If you pass away, your kids are going to have choices. Let's just use they can take things as lump sums. They can, with retirement accounts, the new rule for older kids, they have 10 years to take money out. There's the idea that you can give money upon death, or you can give money now, called annual gifting. Mm-hmm. Then there's a huge one called unified credit as you build your wealth into that 10 or 5, 10, 20, 50, $100 million levels.
Right.
There's ways of actually using the law today to be able to give larger sums of money and not pay any gift tax or inheritance tax, state tax now.
Yeah, or the estate tax. Yeah, that there's a big exclusion now for the estate tax at the federal level.
Yeah.
And so you want to take advantage of that if you're in that.
So these choices that kids have, like the idea of lump sum might be a good option to receive the money quickly. But if the things that you're receiving is taxable, you have to be careful in how you withdraw, because that taxation could be things such as income taxation on inheritance, not just estate or inheritance tax.
Right. There's a big difference between inheriting a life insurance death benefit, because that's tax-free, versus inheriting a big IRA that's taxable when you take it out.
Absolutely. And then the general idea on retirement plans, any retirement plan that's pre-tax, it's going to be taxable to whoever pulls it out.
Right. Somebody's going to pay tax.
Ultimately, let's say it's the kids receive it and they're over 21 years old, and they would basically receive that money, they have a lump sum option or spread it out over 10 years. And that's where we calculate how much you have to take out. But at the end of the 10 years, you have to have it all out of there, pay all the tax.
Right. And so it's not that you have to take, a certain amount every year to make it equal the 10 years it's gone. You could take all of it out in the first 8 years. It just depends on your circumstances. But you've got 10 years to get that account cleaned out, and you do have to take a little bit each year.
Absolutely. So when we're talking to the parents about giving money to their kids, we say, well, these are, by naming your kids by name, they'll have these choices of drawing the money out. And then I explained to the client that our goal is to work with those children to take that money out over time to levelize their taxes. And then we, as a company, we meet individually with each beneficiary and go over, this is what you're going to inherit. These are the taxation, and these are your choices. And we walk through their planning. Many times they've never done planning like that before.
Right. And the person that receives the death benefit, the inheritance, a lot of times they've felt like they never had enough money to do anything, or to see a planner.
Right. So if we have clients that are planners that may retire, we welcome them to bring their younger kids into financial planning at the earliest age possible. Yep. Usually first job, first appointment that we call.
Yeah.
And then we build them. We have younger financial planners that we work with. They have them work with the younger section, and then the older deal with the older at times, and then we sort of position the money to flow, and the money flows to those kids, and we have advice for each level of your family.
Yeah, you think about that first job, first 401k, probably your first time to think about a beneficiary.
Absolutely, and a lot of those kids in their 20s especially don't have wills.
Right.
And they never even thought about beneficiaries, but they need to.
They're 20, they're not going to die.
Yeah, so
that's what's in their mind.
It's sad when it does, though. All right, so this quarter has been talking about, do you talk to your kids? Do you even talk to your parents about inheritance? Just some ideas, some things to think about. Now, at Akers Financial Group, we're local, we're independent, and we don't speak straight. No, we do speak straight. I just speak funny.
Yeah, just a little jumbled.
And so officially, Akers Financial Group is an independent financial services group, locally owned. It's not held by a big company on Wall Street or a big company in Iowa or anything like that. We have offices in Lutherville and Forest Hill. We have clients all around the area, around the country, and a few around the world. It's so easy to begin this process of winning in retirement. All you got to do is give us a call for a free meeting with one of our team of advisors by calling 833-WIN-RETIRE. That's 833-WINRETIRE. And we'll give you a call on Monday to schedule that free meeting. Do they really tax what you inherited? We'll talk about this when we return in a minute.
You're listening to a pre-recorded show. Welcome back to Winning in Retirement. Call 833-WIN-RETIRE now to schedule a visit with Brian and his team and begin winning in retirement. Once again, here's Brian Akers.
Welcome back to Winning in Retirement. I'm Brian Akers from Akers Financial Group. Here with me today is Jeff Akers. I'm Vice President. I'm a certified financial planner, practitioner, has his master's in family and marriage counseling. All-around good guy, Jeff Akers. Welcome to our second half of Winning in Retirement.
All-around good guy. I think you're going to make me cry.
That's as good as I had there. I mean,
as good as it gets.
No, it's one of those things when it comes to working together with people you've known your whole life. What's nice is you know the good and the bad.
The good, the bad, and the ugly, and you're willing to deal with it.
The coolest thing I'd say is this, is that I would trust you with anything.
Well, I appreciate that.
Now, the show is called Inheritance Tax. Inheritance Talk. We're talking about taxes. Yeah, I guess I should re-record this, but I'm not going to because I think it's funny for those listening to understand that this is a real show. It's not a funny scripted show. We are ad-libbing from our experience.
Right.
Now, the hardest part is this. I slipped by saying inheritance tax because that's our topic. I slipped about inheritance talk. I also slipped because Jeff has been my trustee on my own trust for years.
Oh, my.
And I don't know if I've ever told him that. Of course, I did. I did years ago. But he's not going to be anymore. My kids are growing up.
What?
Yes, Jeff. That's what this show's about, is for me telling you that you're not there anymore.
I'm not a trustee anymore.
But the idea of trust, when, like I said, I trust Jeff. I do. Now, who can you say that to? Who can you say that you trust to follow through on your wishes, who would understand and not change what you want done?
Right.
That's an executor. That's the trustee that you want to have when we set up these plans, when we set up inheritance, when we have this show called Inheritance Talk. Choosing that person that you can say what I did, which is I trust you, that's an important piece.
Right. It's imperative because, let's face it, by the time that comes into play, you've passed away. You're not going to be able to come back and say.
You're not going to know that they actually did it.
Right.
You're not.
So you have
Your
to
kids are going to know.
Right.
And the kids are going to say, why did you pick Uncle, my cousin Jeff? Why didn't you pick me?
Right.
And I said, well, I had to wait for you to get to a certain age. I wasn't about to let you. I had to see that you could handle things.
You're a crazy teenager. What do you think I was going to do?
Yeah, absolutely. So when we're talking about inheritance talk, all of this stuff happens that you have to make these decisions. Now, the best thing to do is you do it while you're healthy, not wait to the last minute when you're not thinking clearly. Don't make a reaction. I can't use the fancy word, but where you react.
Reactionary?
That's the word I wanted to use. Where you react and do an estate plan. Do an estate plan as part of your retirement planning, as part of your basic planning. Get something in writing. You can change it later. The reason we want to talk about this is that inheritance matters. Who you give the money to matters, especially when it comes to taxes. It also matters what you do with your money today versus waiting and doing the money after you pass away. That's what this quarter is going to be about. So taxation of inheritance, I know it's going to be hard for a 12-minute quarter to run through all these concepts, but let's just do a couple. Let me hit you up, Jeff, with the hardest one. Step up in basis. What does that mean?
All right. So let's say you buy a stock and you paid $10 for it, and now it's grown and it's worth $1,010. You've got a gain of $1,000. If you sell that stock, you owe tax on that $1,000. Now, let's say that you pass away and you leave that stock to your heirs. They get a step up in basis to the date that you die. So that means that to them, the cost basis is $1,010, and they can sell the stock with no capital gains tax.
And that's called step up in basis on stock that's owned by the person not retirement.
Not in an IRA, nothing like that. Just straight up, you own a stock outright in your name.
This works for stocks. This works for real estate.
Mm-hmm.
And we've seen real estate step up in basis work. We've also seen it not work. Can you explain that?
Well, what I saw not work was actually a stock.
A stock, okay.
So that the person who was leaving the money behind before they died, they're like, well, I want you to have this. And so they just gave it to their beneficiary before they died. Well, when you receive the stock like that, you inherit the cost basis of the person who gave it to you. So now they pass away, you don't get the step up in basis. And so you pay tax on that capital gain, which could be significant. So the takeaway from that is if you have a stock or something where either you don't know what the cost basis is because you've held it so long, or second, you've held it so long that you know that the gain is huge, do not give it to anyone. You want them to receive it upon your death. I know that sounds morbid, but you want them to receive it upon your death because that will benefit them tremendously when it comes to taxes.
Yeah, I was thinking that even a spouse. So, like, if we get a situation where, like, let's say the wife had a stock given to them by a father or something, and they have this stock, they've had it for 20 years, and it's growing. It's in their name, and we see that. Go, that's great. Well, should I add my husband's name to it? And my answer is no. Right. Let's add it as transfer on death. Make the beneficiary the husband, but let's not make them joint. When you make joint, all of a sudden they only can get a partial step up. Like 50%, the wife's interest, not both. So you have a problem with step up in basis is basically wiping out all the gain, and that is one of the goals of Congress someday is to get some of that tax. So the step up in basis is, of course, current law. Step up in basis is important on real estate. So when someone says, "Oh, I added you to the deed," not a good thing.
Yikes.
If your parent says, "I'm adding you to the deed," say, "No, let's talk about that. Let's see if we can do something different so that we do receive it." Maybe we can do other ideas or titling for other reasons, but let's not just add my name to a deed. I appreciate it,
right?
But if I ever want to sell it, I don't want to pay taxes that I could have avoided by the timing of when the name is added on.
Yeah, and that can go back to talking to your parents about these things.
Absolutely. So step up in basis is very, very important to understand. If you hold certain items, why it's important to make sure you treat it properly with how it's going to transfer to the next generation. Yep. A non-qualified annuity. So someone says, "Oh, take your money out of your CD at the bank and let's put it into an annuity." So non-qualified means it wasn't an IRA ever, it wasn't retirement. But then the annuity gives you this tax deferred of the interest. And over time, it grows.
Yep.
And then what happens is when they pass away, Jeff?
Well, when someone passes away, you inherit that annuity. You have 5 years to take out the money.
Yep.
And all of the interest that was earned is taxable.
Yes.
So you're going to have to pay tax on that interest that was earned.
So if somebody put in $20,000, let's give it 20-some years ago or so, and all of a sudden it's worth $40,000, there's a $20,000 gain. Right.
And that $20,000 is going to be taxable. And the interesting thing with annuities, non-qualified annuities, the first money you take out is the interest.
Taxable.
So it's taxable.
Yeah, so that means like if you have 5 years, you don't want to just straight divide it over 5 years.
No.
You divide the growth over 5.
Right. So for the $20,000 gain on the $40,000 annuity, the first year you take out $4,000 and then $4,000, $4,000. The last year you take out $24,000, but only $4,000 was taxable.
Yes, that's the prorated taxation of non-qualified annuities. Please call us for us to explain further. But the idea is non-qualified annuities is a tax. Someone's going to pay the tax. Some parents joke about it. Hey, let them pay for it.
Right.
I think that's funny. As interest rates have come up, putting it inside a non-qualified annuity could make sense. If they did something like life insurance, put money inside of there, then it's tax-free. That's different, right, Jeff?
Right. Tax-free life insurance is wonderful. The life insurance you have to qualify for. You have to be healthy enough to get it. But
it's tax-free to the inheritor.
It's tax-free to the person receiving it.
Yeah, when they receive that money, totally tax-free. What's nice, usually within 2 to 4 weeks, there's a check or there's a money market with the money in there, tax-free for them to choose and use whatever they want. There's no 10-year tie-in, no 5-year wait. It's cash.
And I can't tell you how many times somebody said, well, I got this life insurance payment. How much tax am I going to owe? I need to set that aside. And it's like, that's not taxable.
Yeah.
That's just your money.
One of the easiest things is this concept of wealth replacement where you know your being a 401k millionaire, that your family's going to pay tax. If you have $2 million, that's $600,000 in income tax. And then the thing would be as well, how do I pay for that? Well, life insurance could be a way to give them $600,000 at a very cheap level to provide the money to pay the tax and basically be whole after it's all said and done.
That way they actually inherit what was in the retirement plan and the tax was paid through the life insurance.
All right, so we talked about income tax on inheritance. Now, that was not a broad every category. That's just generally some basic topics.
But we have blown through them.
Quickly. And then the last one this quarter I want to cover is the other taxes, estate, inheritance tax, just basics, Jeff.
So an inheritance tax, this all depends on the state that you live in, but an inheritance tax.
On the day you die, for your residence.
Right, your residence on the day you die. The recipient, the beneficiary, is the one who pays the inheritance tax. The estate tax is something that's paid by the estate before it's actually given to the person inheriting. Now, in Maryland, there is an inheritance tax and there is an estate tax. The inheritance tax does not apply to direct descendants, so parents, grandparents, children, grandchildren, brothers and sisters, anybody else, there's going to be an inheritance tax. In Pennsylvania, if you live up in Pennsylvania, there's an inheritance tax for everybody except the spouse. And if you live in Florida, well, you're probably listening on the internet right now, but in Florida, there is no inheritance tax.
Now, every state has their own set of rules, and you got to know that based on the residency of the person who passed away.
Right.
Now, the hardest part that you're going through is estate and inheritance.
Right.
Now, bloodline, in Maryland especially, is very little tax. But a niece and nephew has to pay a 10% tax on money they receive. Yeah, and that has to be paid within the first 9 months, right?
I forget the time frame that you've got to pay the tax, but you're going to have to pay it.
Correct, and that's through the proper estate documents and stuff.
Right, and they will come for you.
Ultimately, they do. All right, so what we've been talking about is do they really tax what you inherit? The answer is, it depends. Now, if it's never been taxed, probably going to be taxed.
Fun fact, though, the life insurance that we talked about before, not subject to the inheritance tax.
For nieces and nephews in Maryland. That's very true. Way around that.
Yep. Just another fun fact.
Very true. These quarters fly by, and so the topics are very quick and a lot of information. But the concept you got to understand is that we have a financial planning firm. We do financial planning, money management. We do the insurance. We try to implement the plans that we draw up. That's what I believe in. I believe it's the right thing to do for clients is to help them implement this retirement and winning retirement dreams and goals so they are okay and everything's good. Mm-hmm. And the reason is that when you get to those retirement years, you want to know that things are settled. You want to know that you've done the stressful work, the stressful thinking, the stressful thoughts. And what happens in retirement is you get your time back where the time is actually yours and you get to enjoy and be winning in those retirement years. The only way to do that, I believe, is planning and understanding where you are and getting things organized the way you want it to be. So we want you to go ahead and begin winning in retirement by calling us at Akers Financial Group. You can actually call us at 833-946-7384, or you can go to our webpage at akersfinancialgroup.com, scroll to the schedule a meeting section, and let us know you'd like to schedule your free consultation with one of our team of advisors. That's akersfinancialgroup.com. Or you can call us, of course, at 833-WIN-RETIRE. That's 833-WIN-RETIRE. And we'll give you a call on Monday to schedule your free in-person meeting. Does your legacy matter to you? We'll talk about this when we return with more of Winning in Retirement.
You're listening to a pre-recorded show. Welcome back to Winning in Retirement. Call 833-WIN-RETIRE now to schedule a visit with Brian and his team and begin winning in retirement. Once again, here's Brian Akers.
Welcome back to Winning in Retirement. I'm Brian Akers from Akers Financial Group. Today with me, I have Jeff Akers. We are both certified financial planners, financial practitioners, and financial advisors from Akers Financial Group. That's where we give financial advice as we work with people. We're also in stockbrokers. We also have a life and health license. I have a PNC license, so we're fully licensed. Our firm is considered a fee-based firm where planning and management fees is the base, but there are some commissions on certain things where we feel that it's cheaper for the client to have a commission rather than pay an ongoing fee on something.
Right. Part of being a fiduciary is what's in the client's best interest, and sometimes the commission is in the client's best interest.
Well, you got to see what do they need to do, and you don't want to be hindered in any way on implementing what they need to do.
Right.
I mean, if you only sell one product, then you only have one path and you have one answer.
Right.
Then you're a salesperson, right?
Right.
So financial advice it leads to implementation. And that's where I believe the key thing comes to winning in retirement. Talking about is nice. It's fun. Doing it is what makes the difference between you and someone else when it comes to winning in retirement. You wonder why that person can win in retirement? What's the difference? They actually did the plan. They actually did the savings. They didn't hope and I'm going to get to it one day. They did it.
Too many people that come in and say, oh, I wish I'd have done X, Y, or Z years ago, as opposed to the person who came in years ago and did X, Y, and Z.
My goodness, Jeff, 25, 30 years, I think about people. One is a guy who's been a friend of mine a long time. He used to play basketball for me and stuff, and then he came and met, saved money, and he's like maybe 40 now, $1 million. Oh. Just simple saving, not extra saving, just invest it, grew it. Unbelievable. But what's neat is that the habits we talk about, that's what we use with our clients. Now, what happens is when you have people that are successful, you create the winning in retirement, but then you might have a little extra. And that towards the end of life, you start to think about what am I going to do with it? Who's going to receive it? And that's why today's show is called Inheritance Talk. What do you do with money that you want to basically give to the next generation or give to charity or give to someone else? What do you do? And then also the fact is that you might be the one receiving the inheritance. What do you do?
Right. Are you honoring what the person who left it to you would have wanted?
Absolutely. And that's why this fourth quarter is so important. It's about, does your legacy matter to you? Does it matter to you that this money is given to the right people at the right time, that they can use it the way you would like them to use it without being too forceful? But generally, is it your plan going to work? The legacy on the financial side is a lifetime of you building and growing and being successful financially. And then there's some money left over that you can actually have this financial legacy.
Right. And that idea of controlling when the beneficiaries get it and stuff, you can do that through like a trust. And sometimes your legacy might be, I know this one child just isn't responsible for money, but I want to know they're taken care of. And so your legacy, part of that legacy, is setting up a trust where they get a little bit of money every year for the rest of their life.
Absolutely. I was trying to think legacy. When it comes to legacy, we think about so many good things when it comes to personal and spiritual and all these important legacies that are probably more important than even money itself.
Oh, yeah.
And then money is just sort of a tool. Money that you have is money that you can bless people with. That money can also hurt people by the fact that they're given money at the wrong times. So understanding what you're doing and how you're doing it's very, very important. Right.
When you're remembered, you want to be remembered as the person who thought things through and did things the right way and helped people, not as the person who just refused to do whatever it took to make things go right for the people you cared about.
Well, if you hear yourself say, I'm going to work on that later, or I should get that done, those are sort of words you got to replay in your mind that I should do that.
Right.
Get it done, in my opinion, right?
Right. Yeah. What's the number? Who do I call? Where do I start?
I mean, it's easy to do retirement planning. Everybody wants to do retirement planning, right, Jeff?
Oh, yeah. Everybody loves saving money, and I'm going to do this, and this when I'm retired.
Yeah. So that's the fun part. Now, somebody asked us the question, what percentage of people have estate plans, don't have estate plans, people that want to give a legacy, don't want to give a legacy. We can't give a percentage.
Right.
But my first response was, it's very easy to have a bunch of people talk about retirement planning. Yeah. A couple people will come in and say, I want to spend the last dollar on the last day, and the rest of the family doesn't get anything because I'm going to use every penny I have.
Right. Now, I'd say that it's fair to say that there are a lot of people who have a retirement plan but don't have an estate plan, but very few, if any, who have an estate plan but don't have a retirement plan.
Oh, that's deep.
Oh, yeah. Hey, that's that counseling degree, man.
Well, the idea is this, that if you save the money, you do care about the money. And you want to make that money last a lifetime. And then the question is a lifetime and more and beyond. And that's really what estate inheritance planning and planning this all out. The other thing is this, that people say, they come in and they say, oh, I want to spend the last dollar on the last day. And then there's other people that just want to live my retirement and whatever's left is left. Right. And then there's the opposite of saying, I want to give money away and I want to give them this much money. That's more of a directed estate plan, and that's a more of, you know, the destination, you know, the dollar amount. Makes it a little easier in planning, actually, right?
Yeah, those folks have in their mind beyond their own life, so that there might be people that they want to give money to, there might be charities they want to give money to, but they've got it laid out. These are the people that are important to me. These are the charities that are important to me. And this is what I want to benefit.
So the habits that we have in life come out when we pass away.
Yes.
Use the good ones and the bad ones.
Right.
How you receive it are also showing your good and bad habits
Right.
and what you do with that money.
Right. So develop good habits. That's
The good habits is, first of all, planning, thinking about it, understanding if you set goals, you might accomplish them. It's an amazing thing. I say might because you actually have to do something. You just can't say I got a goal.
if you don't set a goal, you're guaranteed not to accomplish it.
I coach basketball, and everybody wants to be the next best player, you know?
Yeah.
I said, well, put up 10,000 shots and then come back and talk to me. or you know, like go do this on your own. Do it on your own. Practice.
Right. After practice, shoot 500 free throws.
And when they say, oh, you don't have enough practices, I don't force them to practice enough. I'm like, well, you don't want it enough.
Right.
Same thing in planning. Planning advisors, we have phones. We have all kinds of ways of contacting us. You can call. And if you call us, we'll call you back. And we set up times. We have teams of advisors to help people. Akers and Jeff Akers have been blessed with great people here to help people. And that's really how we built our business over the years, is taking people's thoughts and ideas and then building a plan around it and then adding every piece of planning to what they're doing, no matter what level they have.
Right. And sometimes, what we tell you might not be what you want to hear, but we're going to tell you the truth about your situation.
Now, do you, Jeff, believe that giving is love?
Wow. You could have warned me about that question
It's
ahead of
in my
time.
notes right there. It's in my notes. It says, I did code words so you wouldn't know.
Yeah, love is gifting now. So
Well, love is gifting now, right? So you can see them, what they do with it, right?
love is something you give. And so the act of giving money can be an indication of that love.
If you give it upon death, they're not going to thank you for it. They
Yeah,
might think about you.
If you want to hear thank you, give it to them while you're alive.
Right. So, okay, let's say I want to give little Jimmy again. I want to give him money. How much money can I give a year without any problems?
Well, you can give them $18,000 without any problem now.
Nice. $18,000 straight to Jimmy.
Yep.
He doesn't pay tax, and I don't get a deduction.
Right. It's nothing. Just think about birthday money. You might put $50 in a card or something for a kid. That's a gift.
Okay.
So that gift could be as big as $18,000.
More than $18,000, the giver is supposed to file a gift tax return.
Right. So we'll just leave it at that. Now let's say Brian really, really likes me, and so he gives me $18,000. And I'm like, I could really use a little more. Well, he can go to his wife Jeannie and say, hey, give Jeff $18,000. Well, now I got $36,000.
Wouldn't that be nice?
Yeah, wouldn't it?
Well, let's try another example.
If only you saw his face.
No, I just want to see you get the money from my wife. That'd be fun. Sorry, this is recorded, isn't it? All right, so the show, Winning in Retirement, yes. Inheritance talk we're talking about. And we're talking about things such as a legacy that matters to you. Sometimes this legacy might not be where you want all the money equally. You might want this money to provide for that one child who needs help. We have a situation where a special needs child needs provided for. The family knows that child needs provided for. The money is going to go to a special trust that'll be managed for the care of that person. Right. The other child's already involved, helping run it, helping take care. And then ultimately, if that child dies early, all the money will then go to the family. So that's also part of planning a special needs trust.
Right. And the beauty of the special needs trust is it does not interfere with the support services that they're receiving.
If done correctly.
Right.
And making sure that you have the proper plan is a very, very important thing to do. Right. Now, a lot of people, when they have the money and they have saved, they feel like they want to control it beyond them passing away.
Right.
They want to give guidance to the people receiving it.
Mm-hmm.
And there are ways to do that.
Yes, there are. They're called trusts. And you can have a trust that you write up ahead of time. You can also have a trust in your will. But either way, it can be set up so that, that it maybe is that one child that just doesn't handle money well, and so you want to spread it out over time. And so you can say they're going to get this much per year, and eventually the value of the trust is going to go down, and then you pay it out to them.
Yeah, when I think about the control or guidance, I think you should be enjoying, if you're successful financially, teaching your family how to be successful financially, so they'll have good habits. You don't want to make it a brutal thing,
right?
But you want something that they want to do.
Right. Ideally, they enjoy doing the right thing.
Yeah. So when we talk about this, money goes where you plan for it to go. That's the key thing with an inheritance talk that we're trying to do today is what are you going to do about your inheritance you want to give? What are you going to do when you want to receive an inheritance? Do you understand your options? You need to plan for it.
Right. Remember, beneficiaries, wills, trusts, all those kinds of things play into what we're talking about today.
Don't just write the word estate and then not have a will.
Right.
Or like in some cases we've seen the auto insurance agent sold a life policy, wrote estate in, and no one ever even talked about the beneficiary. All important things. So much to talk about, Jeff. Thank you for a good show.
Oh, yeah. Loads of fun.
Oh, my goodness. It went quickly. So we enjoyed the fact that you guys all listened to us today talk about inheritance talk. Now, if you ever missed anything, you can go to our website at akersfinancialgroup.com and find out more information right there. So we want you to win in retirement. So take advantage of the opportunity to begin planning with us at Akers Financial Group. Just go ahead and schedule your free meeting with one of our team of advisors. You can give us a call at 833-WIN-RETIRE. That's 833-WINRETIRE. We'll give you a call on Monday to schedule your free in-person meeting with one of our team of advisors. Start planning for your retirement now. Go to akersfinancialgroup.com or call us at 833-946-7384. Thank you for listening. I'm Brian Akers from Akers Financial Group, and we want you to be winning in retirement.
You've been listening to Winning in Retirement with your host, Brian Akers of Akers Financial Group. Akers Financial Group offers securities through Arcadios Capital, an SIPC and FINRA member firm. Advisory services are provided through Arcadios Wealth. Akers Financial Group and Arcadios do not share any common ownership. Neither Arcadios nor Akers Financial Group provides tax or legal advice. Advice given on winning in retirement is general in nature, and one should seek further advice from their financial advisor, broker, attorney, and/or tax accountant before investing. Be sure to read each prospectus carefully to understand all the risks associated with each investment. Examples and scenarios shared are meant to be for illustrative purposes only. Past performance is not indicative of future results.